Hey everybody, Donkey Storm here, and I've been spending a lot of time playing Preservation Evoker on the Dragonflight beta, mainly with the goal of trying to figure out if this spec is going to be viable or even good for a healing spec when Dragonflight drops. In this video I'm going to take all that I've learned about Preservation, plus a recent blue post with buffs coming to Preservation soon, give my thoughts on whether or not this spec is something you should have your eyes on as a main in 10.0. So directly from a recent blue post, in the next beta build, we're making some updates to address concerns regarding Preservation Evoker's healing range. We have been reading feedback and observing playtests and agree that the 25-yard range is a little too prohibitive when combined with frequent casting requirements of empowerment spells. To address this, we're going to do the following. All Preservation Evoker's healing and utility spells will now be at 30 yards baseline. I'm very happy to see that Blizzard is not married to the idea of 25-yard range. Honestly, Evoker is a blast to play, and I'm for real kind of addicted to playing it, but the most frustrating thing is trying to keep people up when they move out of your range. In 5-man content we've been able to test so far, this is rarely an issue on Trash Pull, but becomes a big deal during boss fights, when you'll often get separated from your group members by some sort of mechanic and unable to get closer to them. So in my mind, it's really good to see that Blizzard is open to at least playing with the range of Preservation, and I think this is a step in the right direction, but not a for sure fix. I still have some serious questions about how mid-range is actually going to work, particularly in Raid. Preservation is still considered a ranged healer in WoW, and as such will be targeted by ranged dungeon and raid mechanics. I worry this is going to be a recipe for disaster when you need all range stacked up for something, but Evoker is either hanging out somewhere in the middle or having their heals majorly gimped by not being in range of the group. And I just can't believe that we're just going to completely take that element away from raid bosses just because Evoker exists. So I'm just so curious when Raid comes out, how is this spec going to work? Where are they going to fit? Where are they going to be positioned with other members of the raid group? Okay, so next item from the list. The cooldowns of Dream Breath and Spirit Bloom are being increased slightly, with Preservation's overall healing efficacy being increased to compensate. This should mean you have to stand still and cast Empower spells less often, but when you do, they will feel more impactful, and your healing in between those moments will also be more impactful. So this is an interesting way to tackle this problem. I agree that if the goal is to make a fast-paced and mobile healer, it's a little weird to have to stand still and channel as much as we do right now. This fix is kind of the opposite of the idea I had, which was actually to make the empowerments charge up more quickly but heal for less. As it stands now, I feel like Spirit Bloom and Dream Breath do an absolute boatload of AoE healing. So now they're going to be up less and be more powerful, which means you're going to need to make better use of echoes, reversions, living flames, and just overall the rest of your kit. But they're still going to require you to stand still for just as long when you actually do use them. I mean, I guess we'll have to see exactly how much of an increase slightly is. Honestly, I don't think this fix is going to accomplish what they want, as you're still going to need to stand still and channel forever. But on the bright side, I do think Blizzard has correctly identified the root of a problem here, and that's that too much hard casting doesn't really accomplish the goal of a mobile healer. Alright, next. Hover will now have a shorter lockout time so you can more quickly cast spells after using Hover. So to better understand this sentence, I got on my Evoker and cast Hover, and then a healing spell as quickly as I could afterward. As it plays currently, there does seem to be a small amount of downtime in addition to the global cooldown between when Hover launches you forward and when you can cast a spell. So it would definitely help a bit with closing the gap between you and your teammates, but I have other concerns about these movement spells, and that's how they interact with mechanics. Verdant Embrace, previously called Rescue, is your most potent single target healing spell, in addition to the best way to get to your group members that are out of range. The problem is that it's really easy to Verdant Embrace yourself right into a dangerous mechanic or take damage from pools on the ground as you pass through them. I wonder if Blizzard would be at all open to the idea that since you are indeed flying, you could at least be immune to ground effects? Once you're separated from your group by boss mechanics like pools or swirlies, literally none of these movement abilities do anything to help. And while something like adding invincibility frames to them might be really overpowered, these situations are frustrating because as it stands now, there's really no way around them. So they close by saying we are interested in delivering a mobile, mid-ranged healer. We want to make sure tools like Hover, Verdant Embrace, Echo, and Rescue are flexible and powerful enough to compensate for lower range. Please continue testing and providing feedback and let us know if these tools are working well alongside the changes above. We'll continue to listen to feedback and make sure Evoker is a powerful and exciting class to play. So overall, I'm happy with these changes because it feels like Blizzard has correctly identified what the issues with preservation actually are and is making some good tweaks trying to figure them out. I'm very much on board with the range increase, but a little more skeptical about these changes to Spirit Bloom and Dream Breath. It seems like they're admitting the spells feel clunky, but their fix is just to not have us cast them as much, and that seems like kind of a lazy way around the problem. Finally, I think that raid testing will likely open Blizzard's eyes to the fact that the mobility spells preservation has don't do enough to compensate for lack of range when they're nullified by other mechanics. I really think this is going to become very noticeable when we start testing harder content that can actually kill you and not just these face roll 5-man heroics. So is preservation going to be a viable healer when Dragonflight drops? My current opinion is it depends. If you're more focused on raid, I'm a little bit worried still. This is where you're going to feel that 30-yard range the most, and a lot of this is going to depend not just on Evoker, but the fights themselves. We've never had a mid-range spec in WoW, and it's going to be super interesting to see what that looks like in a raid environment. If you're more interested in a dungeon-focused play, I feel a little bit safer in thinking that preservation is going to be pretty good, especially with the 5-yard increase. Preservation has a load of utility that's going to be very valuable in 5-man content, and most of the dungeons seem to be relatively good for the Evoker playstyle based on my testing. But I am very interested to know your opinions, guys. What do you think of these changes? Are they enough, or does Evoker need more help? Are you planning on maining Evoker at Dragonflight? Let me know in the comment section, and if you want to see more Dragonflight healer videos covering all the specs, please subscribe or check out my stream every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday right here on YouTube, 9 p.m. Pacific. Thanks for watching and happy healing.